Hi, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Palma Yacht Vlogs right here on Yachting International Radio. My name is Ria. I am your host, and today I am pleased to introduce Sarah Colbon from Divergent Yachts. How are you?
Really well. Thank you for having me, Ria.
No, thank you for coming on board. Now, you are in charge of the marketing for Divergent Yachting, but as well, you are a freelance marketing consultant and have been for some time now.
Yes, I am. I work with a wonderful team of Divergent, and yeah, it's been great. I've been working in the industry now for nearly 9 years.
So where are you from originally, and what got you into marketing in the first place?
So I'm originally from a small town, little fishing village on the south coast called Emsworth, and I've grown up down there. And as soon as I hit 19 and got a backpack on my back, I was off traveling. So I spent majority of those years traveling around Australia and Southeast Asia. And I was saying to you before the interview, I've got family over in Australia, so I headed over there. And one of my first jobs was working as marketing in a backpacker hostel to get my, the free bed and the free breakfast and everything else, and putting lots of people on Kakadu National Park tours and everything else. So I really got a taste for it then. And I was really wanting to kind of broaden my horizons because I didn't really know what I wanted to do at that stage. As you don't at 19, you pretend you do, but you really don't. And so I managed to get a marketing placement with a tourism destination marketing, the government over there. So I was sponsored to stay, and it was amazing. I was finally given this incredible marketing job of destination marketing, and showing off the Northern Territory of Australia. And yeah, it was incredible. And then I returned back to the UK nearly 10 years later. So I spent a long time over there. Wow. And I did work with travel companies and etc., and running their marketing. And then I had a little taster of the yachting industry back then, and I realized, okay, yeah, this is amazing. And I was introduced to it from a friend, and we started a small little marketing agency back then and started getting a few clients in. And what was really interesting for me was I was from a space where we were quite a few years ahead in the travel industry in regards to brand and marketing, and especially campaign work and advertising. And I was used to working with, decent budgets and project managing agencies and coming out with these TV, radio advertising campaigns. And I suddenly walked into an industry that was like, whoa, we don't even have a website. We don't have any sales. We just literally talk to people and we do business person to person. What's all this marketing stuff? And so I really had to take a few steps back and realize that, okay, we just need to do this slowly. And it was actually a really good chance for me to get to know the industry a bit more and really understand who the people are and what sectors of the industry were. And I was very lucky to work with some shipyards, designers, service suppliers, all walks of the industry over those years. And yeah, I think I really then grasped what it was all about, and I've loved every minute of it. So I was brought up, with boats and sailing. My father and friends of the family always had boats. And then actually, funny enough, in Australia, I worked and did a lot of fishing charter, live aboard fishing charter. So we were always on boats then, but not to the level of the super yacht world. But at the same time, I combined all those experiences together, and it actually really helped the message of marketing, especially for some of the sectors of the industry. So it gave people a different opportunity to look outside the box a little bit and try different things. And I was very lucky to work with people who believed in me and especially believed in the journey in which we were going on together. And that's where we produced some fantastic work, and some work that I'm still really, really proud of today. So.
Well, can you tell me, from the time that you started marketing within the yachting industry, have you seen trends change overall? Have you seen numbers change? Have you seen?
Yes, sure. I think definitely the digital world has changed quite dramatically in the yachting industry in a whole. I remember when I first joined, I was all about social media back then, and I was always talking about, why aren't you guys on Twitter? And they were like, what's Twitter? What's that going to do? And Marine, actually, from Super Yacht Times, always laughed, because I always had that conversation with him. I was like, come on, you need to be more active. He's like, Sarah, what is Twitter? And those areas now, even just like I was saying before, just a website, having that platform, having the foundation of your business from just a few years ago to now has dramatically changed. People are much more invested in the way that they communicate, and they are using the channels of distribution like social media and like other ways and means to be able to get their message out there. And yeah, I think that is one area of marketing that has dramatically grown over the past few years in yachting.
Do you think that there is a market that the yachting industry is missing?
I think there are a few areas, I think I was saying before, where I still speak with a lot and work with a lot of guys outside of the industry and other luxury sectors, and especially in the automotive and hospitality areas of travel and tourism. And I really think that there are ways in which we can learn from what's going on in those sectors and how to maybe strategize a bit better with our marketing, and maybe invest more in, target hitting campaign, because this is what those industries do. They're very target driven with their campaigns. All their marketing money is spent on specific campaign work and bringing in that business. And I think we're still quite fluid with that, and we're quite reactive. We rely on quite a few levels of marketing and doing business face to face at boat shows, like we were talking before, and places like that where the industry does do business, of course, but there are other areas in which we could look at and explore more, like these other industries are doing right now during this crisis, to really see how we can expand our marketing and our horizons.
What would you say to a company that would say, we're not going to advertise during this time because we're already busy. We're only going to advertise in the times where we're not busy? What would you say to a company that would make sort of that blanket statement?
Sure. And I mean, there are companies actually that I've even noticed that have stopped advertising completely during this time, and are waiting for things to go back to the normal before they'll start spending any money again or even advertising. It's a really difficult case, because some people, especially in yachting, are really stuck in their ways like that. They genuinely believe that is how business works and how advertising works. And I think that's it's quite detrimental to those brands, that this is actually the time to change things. If that was your way before and that worked for you, then that's fine. But why not take this time to change it up? See what this actually does for your brand and for the company. This could open up new avenues for you. Even if it's not the case of direct advertising, it's maybe doing some brand partnerships. It's not necessarily a big spend and heavy marketing or heavy advertising, but this is the time now where you can do some more collaborative and creative work. But stopping doing any type of advertising, especially during this time, is quite damaging.
How do you think the yachting industry is going to be moving forward after this? Because we all know life is going to go back to normal. It will be a new normal, but we are going to be moving on. People still own their yachts. We still have crew. They're still going to need to be crewed. Where do you see the industry heading marketing-wise in the future?
I actually think that this is a really positive twist for us, in a way that we are now more invested in the way we communicate. We've got this time now to really reevaluate what has been going on and necessarily how we were doing it before. So we are taking this time now to really look into the communication side of things. And I really think there's going to be a lot of marketing managers around, or personnel, or people that work within those departments, those companies, feeling the love a bit more, I should say, because they're now seeing the actual importance of marketing and the way that it really does hold the foundations together of what you do. And I think we're going to showcase more our values of who we are. We are taking this time to open ourselves out a bit more. I know I'm seeing a lot more online about the actual members of team or the faces behind the brands and the companies, because we're actually using this time to introduce these people that you wouldn't necessarily see at a boat show, or you wouldn't necessarily see an engineer, you know, from a shipyard, you know, focused on a social media platform in that respect. So I think, yeah, I think the way that we're going now, we are going to lift our communications a lot more. I think we're going to be hopefully a bit more smarter with the way that we do communicate. And yeah, I think we're going to build a better community side of things. I think, you know, as a yachting base, we've got so many associations. We've got so many different levels of, you know, of industries within our industry, and yet we're still so small. So I think we can allow to take this time to start to, you know, come together a bit more as a community and fight through this. Because there are going to be areas, and I hope it's not marketing that gets cut back over the next few months, but there are going to be areas of business that just won't be able to, unfortunately, withstand what is happening, and which is really sad. But on the positive side of things, yeah, I'm really hoping that marketing can actually progress and catch up, use this time to do a bit of catching up.
Do you think that the yachting industry actually understands where their demographics are at the moment?
It's interesting you say that, because again, it's an area which we could do a lot more of, and that's real research. It's taking that time to really understand who the consumer is, how they consume news, and how they can, you know, necessarily purchase from you or spend money with you or do business with you. So now is the time, again, where we can do a few things. We can do a big competitor analysis, look at who else is around. Whilst you've been so busy in your sector, and I use yacht management, for instance, with Divergent, is that the moment you're so busy and you're getting, you know, working, next thing you know, you look up and there's 6, 7, 8 more businesses that have come into your marketplace. Now, what are they doing? You know, how did they, you know, suddenly get 8, 9 yachts under management in that short space of time? Is it because the way they're communicating? Is it the way that their website is, or, you know, how they're targeting these people? So, yeah, I think a lot more research could go into it, and again, use or understand how other industries are targeting these people, and maybe look at ways in which you can, you know, you can get some inspiration from that and put that into your own strategies.
So would you agree then that if somebody is looking to have somebody take over their marketing, for example, it's probably wiser to find somebody who has a marketing background as opposed to a yachting background?
Sure. Look, listen, I'm, like I was saying before, I've never necessarily worked on board yachts. I've been on plenty now, and I've been lucky enough to have some incredible experiences on board yachting. But it doesn't necessarily make somebody who's just worked on board have that experience, like you said, to come into, say, marketing. And don't get me wrong, there's lots of things happening now in social media side of things where, you know, there's all these social media companies popping up left, right, and center saying, hi, you know, let's manage your social media for you. We have no marketing experience or background, but guess what? We're clever at, you know, posting stories and content. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be able to do a job and get for you as a company to get your return on investment. I think that's the most important part of marketing. And a lot of people now who are necessarily hiring need to look at that as a whole. The experience is vital, especially right now. You need to be watching every, you know, spend in regards to that during this crisis in particular, that if you've never invested in marketing before, then make sure you are doing your background checks and making sure that this person does have the experience to give you. Yeah.
Well, I know that you are very busy with Divergent, but you are also freelance, so you do have time to work with other clients as well.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, obviously, I'm lucky in the sense that I've got opportunities that do come to me from time to time, but I'm definitely, I love, and I'm very, very passionate about working with people who are interested in investing properly into marketing. And I'm always up and open for doing new projects. And I was speaking with a captain the other day, for instance, who just said, you know, I don't really know what's going on here. I don't know what's happening with my boat, but could you just help me with a small project? And I'm like, absolutely. You know, and they, no matter how big or small, if I can help with my experience to make something better for them in the long term, then I'll do it.
Wonderful. Well, you know what? I would really like to get your information, and so we can supply it to those that have been watching this interview in case they are rethinking their strategy, or maybe possibly thinking about starting a strategy, because we know that there are some out there that don't even have a strategy to begin with. I think it's really, really important that people take a look at that, because, you know, I was telling somebody the other day, it's like without using yachting terms, but it's like somebody selling all their winter tires in the wintertime, saying we don't need to advertise, and then throwing huge amounts of money at selling their winter tires in the summertime and wondering why they're not selling their winter tires. Well, that's because nobody wants your winter tires in the summertime, and it doesn't matter how much money you're going to throw at them, they're still not going to buy your winter tires in the summertime. So it just, you know, I mean, it sort of makes sense, but you really do need to focus. And the only way that most people can focus is by hiring someone such as yourself to take a really good look and do a strategic plan.
Yeah, 100%. And also, now's the time to even look at your brand as a whole and think, how can we develop different sectors of our business now? How can we scale maybe online? You know, these are areas in which maybe shipyards in particular have never looked at before, because they're so used to having people, project managers, owners, reps, people coming to them directly, legal teams, etc. Whereas now, look, we could potentially scale up an online experience for people to be able to build their own yacht. How do we do that? You know, or there could be all different ways, and things are happening at the moment, but brainstorm time is now. You know, this is this downtime in a certain way where we can reconnect with marketing and branding and looking at different ways. So yeah, I'm really positive about this time and moving forward for this sector.
So I think that we're going to see a new reality, and things are going to go back. Do you think it's going to take too long for the yachting industry to get back up hot and heavy again, or do you think it's going to be a fairly quick jump back?
I think we're in quite an unknown at the moment, and I think this is where we need to be realistic in a certain ways, because we really don't know what is happening and how long things are going to happen, and certain countries are doing things certain ways. But I believe that our industry, in particular certain sectors, sure, will be maybe hit harder than others, but if we all stick together and help each other out at this time, then we will be on a better stand when we do get back to that normal. No matter how quick or slow, or, you know, we get there, we'll come back stronger for sure.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Sarah. It's been really interesting, and I think you've taught me a thing or two as well.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
No, we will make sure to provide you with all the information below this interview when we air it. So thank you ever so much for tuning in. This has once again been Sarah Colbon from Divergent Yachting. She is also a freelance marketing consultant. If you need her services, make sure to get in touch. I'm sure she can help you save some money along the way as well. You've been watching another episode of Palma Yacht Crew Vlogs right here on Yachting International Radio. My name is Ria. I have been your host. We'll see you again next time.